welcome everyone. Very, very happy you're here. Please feel free to use the chat if you have any questions, raise your hand. Super happy to, answer anything for you. This is going to be a roundtable with my panel, but we really want to hear from you as well, because I think that if we all work together, we can find solutions. Okay, perfect. So let's get started. So again, Ashley, I own Rocky Phoenix AI. I've been doing strategy and enablement. I made sure to really invest in myself over the last 3 years. So I have six AI certifications. Google, Cornell, IBM really helped me out to understand the backbone of AI on the technical side, as well as to help to translate it for people who are not engineers, because I know a lot of us, I can't code for anything, but we still need to be able to have those tools available for us. And then here's my panel. I'll go ahead and introduce everyone. If you guys want to introduce yourselves, definitely. Clarence, do you want to start with who you are?
Sure. Hey, everybody. Good morning. Thanks for being here. I'm excited to have this conversation with all of you. My name is Clarence Moore. I am one of the co-founders of a company called Empowered. And this past year, I want to say that I've gained my favorite AI skill that I've gained is in vibe coding, which I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with. But not just building with it, but learning how to really prompt it and lead it. And over that time period, I've learned to really strengthen my leadership skill because I am in no way an AI expert, but I am an expert on people and leadership. And so I think one of the most important things that we can be talking about in this world of AI is what it means to lead a machine in the same context as what it means to lead people. So happy to be here.
Thank you, Clarence. And I met Clarence on TikTok, so like use your networks. I saw him one day, I'm like, hey,
Yes.
it was great. Julius, you want to go next?
Yeah, I didn't know that TikTok is also a good source of, connection. All right, good, good. For me, it's evening. So I am currently based in Iceland. I am Julius Buenconsejo, so I'm a founder of Redwood. So I usually go to an organization for organizational or transformation. Now I'm focusing on AI and organizational transformation. So I'm also the host of 10x AI podcast, where I met Ashley and one of the panelists now, Sling Piper. So currently, I'm working on with different projects, and mostly 70% technical, and then there are 30% technical that I'm working on. I also work with HR now. I'm developing chatbots and AI tools for the or workflow for them. So those are things I'm doing right now. Not very technical, but I could understand how AI will transform the organization or the individual people.
Thank you, Julius. Yes, I really enjoyed doing the podcast last year. So make sure to put in the chat the podcast so people can actually go watch it, okay? And then
Yes.
Lynn's next. Oh, thank you. Yeah, so Lynn, you're next.
Hi, everyone. I won't say good morning or afternoon because I think we're all scattered all over the place. Ashley, thank you so much for inviting me to this panel. I am a former Chief Human Resources Officer and now founder of the Haas Group. So anytime I connect with HR people, I feel like we're always kind of trauma bound because of all the things that go on in HR that we can't really talk about with anyone else. But I do not do any coding or any technical parts of AI. My offerings and services are all about the people side of AI. So it's really helping companies identify what gaps or risks they have in place if they haven't started with an AI initiative or if they already have and they need to course correct. Because the trend and pattern and statistics that are being revealed are that companies are just running right to the shiny object, but there's really no adoption. There's usage, but not adoption in terms of how is it being applied to work skills, what are your metrics, not just how many people are actually creating prompts in Copilot. So happy to be here.
Perfect, thank you. And then Marco, you're next.
Hello, everyone. Marco T. Lindsey. I use the he, him pronouns. I'm based in the Bay Area, Oakland, California. I put in the chat, but I teach at a college called UC Berkeley, the High School of Business. I've been there for about 19 years. Spent 10 years as a chief of staff, past 9 years as director of diversity, equity, and inclusion. So really have insights at the intersection of productivity and inclusion. And one thing that we're talking about at UC Berkeley, and a lot of my interest and research is in is around EI and AI, so artificial intelligence and emotional intelligence, and those intersections, and how important that's going to be for the future. I'm the founder of the Equitable feedback model. We could talk more about that later if you want, but you could just Google it as well. And I'm really looking forward to contributing and learning from this discussion. I put my LinkedIn in the chat, so I'm encouraging everyone to reach out to me. Let's connect and let's network.
Perfect. Thank you. And Marco, I met at a networking event. So again, network, network, network. And Marco's also my birthday twin. Our birthdays are a day apart. So that's my twin right there. So we're going to get onto the panel. So kind of they already did let you know what it is that they do, and we're going to go back over it, later on in the roundtable, but just kind of an idea of where everyone's like coming from. So again, I really appreciate everyone saying yes to the panel. I got a lot of no's, so thank you guys for saying yes. I really appreciate it. So here's what we're going to be talking about right now. So kind of what's broken in AI and HR, and how can we keep the human in AI and HR. Lynn was so spot on what's going on right now. Companies rush to buy the tool, saying AI this, AI that, and then people start using it and they're like, this doesn't work, or I don't know how to use that. And so we're seeing a huge reverse course on that, on actually enabling people how to use AI. But here's where it gets really tricky. When you're trying to do a shift right now, so what did people hear for the last 3 years? It's going to take your job. We're doing layoffs. This role's going to be replaced, right? So all of us here in the panel, we use AI. We're all for it. We really enjoy it. We all took the time to learn how to use it. So it's easier for us to say like, oh yes, we can do this and this and this with it. But if you didn't have that training and you see, well, all these layoffs and people losing their jobs, it's really hard to make that shift. So what's the goal moving forward? Number one, we had to fix what's broken. Like we had to do that. That's going to be most important. And number two, we had to keep the human in AI. You can do a ton of great things in AI. It doesn't mean you should. So when I'm working with different companies and I'm trying to help them learn and help them enable their teams, I can say, I know how to automate whatever you need to have automated, but you don't want to automate yourself out of a job. You don't want to replace the humans. The way the systems work on the back end is based on guessing. Like that's what a GPT does. It guesses. There's biases written into the systems because it's written by humans. So the goal is to empower humans to actually do the work, but we need to find a direction moving forward to get that to happen. So this is where I'm going to start my roundtable with my wonderful panel. So the first question I want to ask is, how has your opinion changed about AI since you started using it? Lynn, let's go with you first, if that's okay.
Sure. So I started using AI before I decided to be a consultant because I was looking for a job. And I thought I need to learn more about AI in HR. And the more I learned about AI in HR, I realized I could help companies with transformation within the entire organization. But my opinion was initially, this is so overwhelming. I don't even know where to start. I don't even know what to learn. But the more I started using it and experimenting with it and taking several certification classes like you, Ashley, I really saw how it amplifies whatever you bring to it, if you know how to use it. But the friction point is that I think people expect it to fix a problem, and people are just putting an AI on top of current processes or legacy processes without looking at what is the entire process and how can AI change and fix that, not to replace jobs, but to enhance your job or to make it better. The other piece that I really see happening is employees are so overwhelmed with change. The change is now the new norm in the workplace, and AI is actually creating more work for them because now they have to learn a new tool, and at the end of the day, they have to get their job done. So how do you manage all of that within the organization and you have a tool that really supports employees and you are using it for them, not saying this is what you're not doing it to them. This is a tool you now have to use without understanding the why.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's something that we do kind of all the time is we get the tools, we learn it, and then we get overwhelmed by it. Um, let's see. Does anyone else want to go next? Clarence, Marco, Julius?
Yeah, I can go. And just to clarify, can you repeat the question?
Oh, sorry. So it's number two. So how has your opinion about AI changed since you started using it?
Yeah, so like a lot of people, I was initially against it when generative AI and large language models first became mainstream about 3 years ago. And as the marketing leader in the organization that I was with at the time, I was being pushed to lead the integration of AI into our business. But I was in the healthcare industry, so I was naturally apprehensive given HIPAA and data privacy concerns in that industry. So I guess you could say that I was anti-AI at first, but I took some courses to actually understand how LLMs work and started to really test the waters using ChatGPT, like most people who started in AI to brainstorm for a marketing strategy. And as a C-suite executive at the time, many of you probably understand, I was very busy all the time. And I quickly saw the benefits in terms of efficiency and freeing up time to put toward something else that would have been more impactful for the organization. So now, fast forward to today, 3 years later, I use it regularly and I'm now building a platform that's AI powered and as somebody who spent nearly 20 years in business leadership, I've seen the impact that poor technological implementation can have on culture and engagement at the organizational level, as well as on employees at the individual level. But today, I see the value of AI so much more. And I do believe that it can activate human potential when used right. But I think that we're still widely misunderstanding its role in our society, let alone in the business context. But we've opened Pandora's box and there's no undoing it. So now we just have to figure out the best way to move forward.
No, absolutely. And again, another one, took the classes. You took your time to learn and really invest in yourself and understand what AI is, as opposed to just jumping in and kind of figuring it out. Like you learn how to use it correctly. Marco, do you want to go ahead?
Absolutely. Uh, my opinion changed drastically about AI from when I first started using it, but I first want to acknowledge that while we're talking about AI has been around for a long time. This isn't something that's new. I mean, even predictive text, which we use, is AI. There's so many things that are artificial intelligence we just were not aware of. I think how my opinion has changed over time is that initially I thought AI was going to be this one thing. And I think that AI is more than just this one thing, right? It's not an operating system. It's going to be a completely different way of how we interact with life. And I'm hoping that people can grasp that understanding that because I've talked to people and I work at a college and, we have some people who are late adopters. I guess that's the nicest way I can put it. And they're saying, "Oh, I don't want to use AI," and it's kind of like saying, you don't want to use the computer, you don't want to use the typewriter. It's not gonna be an option. And so when we think about using AI, and as we learn about the different types of way that you can use AI, I think the more people are going to come around. I think there'll be less fear. Right now, there's a lot of conversation about, oh, AI is going to be replacing all these jobs and, all these people are going to be unemployed. Well, with every revolution that we've had, jobs have been replaced. In the early 1900s, an 18-year-old person, the main job that they wanted was to go work at a Ford factory. That's not the case anymore. Things have changed. And so understanding that this is just a part of the way that the world is going to progress. And what we have to do is we have to take the classes. We have to do the learnings. We have to have the conversation and understand that this is going to be embedded in everything that we do. This isn't going to be something that you put on the shelf and that you do sometimes. I've seen people put in the chat and the other ways that AI, we've already been using it, right? Alexa. I use Alexa all day long. Matter of fact, I just said it and she picked up. But the point is, um, it has to be a mindset shift. And not only that, we have to go from a space of thinking of AI as this thing that is in competition with us. No, AI is our partner, and it's going to help make us more productive. There was a stat that said that people that have AI skills, they're going to be paid 56% more than the people who don't. So it behooves you, even if you just think of the financial, but not just the financial, but just how you want to operate in this world to get on board. And so that's how my thought have changed about it over time. Just realizing that it's not this one thing that's going to be in this corner that I pick up and use every time or sometime, and understand that it's a part of everyday life. And whether that's at work, at home, whether you're walking down the street, it's everywhere. And so we need to get used to it, and we need to learn more about it so that way we can live in a world that's here, not even the future, the world that's here now.
That's very helpful, and I really appreciate you saying that, AI actually is not new. It actually isn't. I could say, maybe a couple months ago, I had a conversation with my father, and he's 76 years old. He got his degree in computer science in 1985. We had a long talk about AI, and he was telling me about stuff that was happening back when I couldn't even read. Like that's how far back AI actually goes. So the AI we're looking at now as generative AI, it's here, but we've been doing AI for 50 years. So thank you for pointing that out. Julius, please go.
Yeah, so for me, it's because I usually join early stage or a startup company, so I'm very enthusiastic about AI because it changes the way we work. But the thing that changes from my perspective, coming from, from a technical perspective, because I'm a chemist by profession, so I'm more into organizational transformation, startup quality, and all this, is that how AI can change drastically the organization. It's not like, the person, it's the organizational change that AI can affect. So that's why for me, it's like when you say AI now, for me, it's like reimagining the organizational structure. What is the future of work? For example, if I'm a CEO right now, I have to see what's my goal. I have to align what's my vision. That's the reimagining of the organization. And then you have to redesign the task. You have to redesign the job description, the organizational structure. And like what I told you, I have two guests before in a podcast that have differing expectations of organizational structure. One of them told me that the future of organizational structure is going to be diamond, and the other one is flat. So this is what I'm saying. It depends on the structure of the company and the way they want it to be perceived. You cannot say that I want my company to be the first in mind by people when you are laying off people. It's ironic. You have to be people first, and then you have to reimagine your organization, and again redeploy. So that's one thing that all of us are saying, that they should not have laid off everyone. They should have redesigned first this structure, this organization structure, and then redeploy these people and by upskilling them. Because if you can see right now, when we started, I never imagined that the healthcare profession will be affected by that. But now you can see, robots are now taking care of people in the hospitals, and eventually AI will be there also. So this type of transformation will need more people. For example, who's going to be the preventive maintenance, going to do the preventive maintenance with these robots? This does not exist right now, but in the future, these people, this type of profession will exist, and it will create a new, like what Marco said, a new revolution, a new type of industry for the AI.
Perfect. I really did appreciate it. Sorry, I had a little technical glitch on my computer, which we all, happen to have. So let me go ahead and share the screen for the next question that we have coming up. 2, what is more important, the tool or the person who's using it themselves? So I think Lens would be a great question for you because I know you have a lot of really good insights on this.
Did you say me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, of course, the answer is the person or the human or the employee, whatever. Of course, that's always, but it's not the tool or the person. It's everything in between that nobody's redesigned. So you have the tool, you have the person or the employee, but there's nothing to really bridge that gap. And you can put a tool in the hands of a great person and still fail because the workflow, the decision rights, the accountability around them are broken. So the person matters more, obviously, but the person is not the real lever. The real lever is the organization built around both of them. And when Julius was talking about, in a way, my words, how disruptive AI will be, not necessarily in a bad way, but it is already to the workplace and the whole organizational infrastructure. And when you start peeling away at all of that, it is again overwhelming for companies because now they have to talk about their whole talent management structure. They have to talk about their jobs. They have to talk about what are the legacy job qualifications that have existed for this particular job for the last 10 years that no longer really matter. Does it really matter anymore that you have 10 years of experience working at ABC? Or does it matter that you can prove and show you have the competency levels and skill sets to do the job? And that kind of shakes everything up. So it's kind of when you turn the rock over and you see what's underneath the rock, you either think, okay, we got to jump in and take care of this, or we just put the rock back down. So those are the pieces when it comes to the people part that really doesn't have anything to do with the actual tool.
Um, let's see, Clarence, I think this would be a good spot for you to kind of jump in about, if it's the tool or the people, because I know what you're working on building.
Yeah, thank you, Lynn. And honestly, I think I'll echo much of what Lynn said there. And of course, I want to say that the person matters more. And I think that there's no question when it comes to that. My entire career has been built around people, and this chapter of my work now is about empowering the human behind the machine. And of course, if we're talking about human life versus the life of a machine, it's human life above all else. But that said, I pride myself on being a great thinker. I don't like binary black and white answers. And like Lynn said, I intentionally try to look between the lines because I think that's something that's as complex as AI and human intelligence integration requires that kind of lens. So, with a lot of caution, I'll say that the answer to this is highly contextual. The person that is using it can use it ethically or not. But the tool itself can also be good and it can be bad depending on how it's built and what safeguards are designed into the tool. So if a tool has natural safeguards against bad faith and unethical use, then in some situations the tool can matter more. And that's actually the principle that we're building Empowered on. We're using AI to synthesize dozens of data points about a person, their values, their working style, and what actually matters to them into something that a human recruiter could never assemble alone on their own. But the tool doesn't replace the human judgment. And I think that's the most critical part in this whole thing is that the tool is there to inform it so that that person on the other end is making a better aligned decision, not an automated one. But we also have to understand that AI's actual impact is much more broad than that. Yes, there are absolutely very real downsides, but it also has the ability to have positive impact, like Marco was talking about earlier. It has the ability or the potential to make entrepreneurship much more sustainable, to help people climb out of poverty, to let small businesses compete with larger corporations, and even make knowledge and education much more accessible. And that I think is worth protecting, which means both the person and the tool need to be held to a standard.
No, that's definitely you're right. And so when I'm working with different tools, each tool has a different functionality and it can do like different things. But as you said, because we, took the time to learn, different parts of AI and learn, how it works in regards to our organization, we can pretty much use any tool that we need to, because we've actually fixed the human first. We taught the human first, and then we were able to use the tools. Julius, do you want to talk next?
Yeah, I agree with Lynn and Clarence about that. I think it's more of the person. So, like for example, I ran a workshop in one of this company in the Philippines, and then I asked them to use ChatGPT, and I gave them instructions of what the outcome should be. and then they just invent whatever they want in the prompt, and everything that it comes out there depends on the prompt that they're using. So I believe if we wanted to move forward, for example, in an organization, it must be the person who will be trained, it must be the person who will be skilled, it must be the person that who is already ready to take the responsibility. So like what Clarence said, and Lynn, the responsibility lies more on the person, not on the tool.
Thank you. Marco?
Yep. First off, I just want the fellow panelists are amazing. This is some great stuff, and I'm taking notes as you all are talking because we're all here to learn and get better at this stuff. So I appreciate it. I'll go back to a point that I made earlier in the intro and talking about how important human skills are. So to answer the question, I think we all acknowledge that the person is more important, right? We live in a people first society, but there are certain human skills that people in this world are going to need no matter what, right? Accountability, right? People need that. Adaptability, being able to collaborate. That's going to be extremely important. Those are human skills. And then the one I talked about earlier was emotional intelligence. You cannot successfully have artificial intelligence without the emotional intelligence. And so I was at a conference 2 weeks ago called HR West. So I work in the HR space, and the entire conference was literally primarily about artificial intelligence, AI, and how people in the human resources realm, whether that's in legal, whether that's hiring, whether that's talent management, learning and development, all have to learn how to integrate these tools in a way that still sees the person. And so AI can't replace that. AI can attempt to duplicate it, but AI doesn't have the empathy that you and I have. And so ensuring that the people that we're working with, we ensure that they have those skills in addition to being able to understand the large language models and these various tools, that could associate you as being a man. You were ranked higher, and if you weren't, you were ranked lower. And so you need the human in there to see that and catch that, so that way you don't have those biases in place, because that organization ended up getting sued around that, and so there's legal ramifications around this as well. But pass it back to go on, Julius.
Yeah, talking about that, biases. We actually remember we had this conversation about the AI interviewer, and you mentioned about this AI bias.
Yes. So sorry guys, got kicked out. Technology. I really apologize. You would think after years of doing this, it would be a lot easier. So I just wanted to say I super apologize, for that. Yeah, biases. So some of you guys may know that I've actually built a tool called Bias Breaker. And what it is, it's a tool that helps out with recruiting teams and hiring teams to remove bias from the actual hiring process. And so what we've seen a lot of times in different systems, the different applicant tracking systems, when they use, the AI, and I think Lynn, you probably taught us too when we were at Transform in Vegas, is a lot of these companies, they have they'll have AI, they'll be able to scan their resumes and rank the resumes. And so I showed them it was super, super easy for me to introduce bias into their process by adding one word. So I showed them hey, if I add the word sales anywhere in SALES onto the filter, anyone who applies for a job who does not have sales experience at all, automatically they're gone because they don't have that one word. But let's say that you're a recruiter like myself and you have 10 years experience, I negotiate, you work with different clients, you have different things. If I don't have that one word sales on my resume, that could be a ton of people who get kicked out. So my bias breaker actually works by being able to look at transferable skills from the resume as well as a job description and be able to translate it holistically. It gives the hiring team interview questions to ask. It shows an overview of the candidate. And then what we see a lot of times in recruiting and in HR is hiring managers will say well, I want someone who can hit the ground running. And so with my bias breaker, when I'm removing the bias, I actually give the hiring team onboarding ramp for 90 days. So I identified the problem, the bias within the systems by understanding how the system work, and then built a tool to actually combat that bias. So it gives people a fairer chance at being considered for different roles. So we definitely, do see that. And yeah, thank you guys again for being patient. Let's go on to our next question. I'll go ahead and share my screen again. All right, topic number 3. This is the big one. This is what we're all here for. This is the big show. What is one thing you wish organizations would reverse course on when it comes to AI? Let's see, Julius, I think you can go first for this one.
Yeah, so for me, I think it's the massive layoffs when they started this, because most of the AI transformation projects initially was targeted to automate all of the tasks, majority of the tasks, so to do away of the people. So I think if they can reverse that, because you can see in the study now, the some of the organizations now are rehiring people 30% more, and the frontliners. So I think that would be the one that I would like them to reverse course. And then instead of laying off more people, just reskilling them for the future of the organization, for the future of the new jobs that AI transformation will create.
Perfect. Marco, what do you want people to reverse course on?
Well, I agree wholeheartedly with Julius. Those hiring and firing decisions. I think that's, well, let's say, the letting people go, reverse course on that, but then also a bit of what we talked about, just a moment ago, reverse course on using AI solely to hire folks if you don't have those safeguards in place. And so, in a lot of organizations, you have to go through, the ATS. It's this first level of filtering. What happens if that first level is screwed up? I mean, that's the nicest way I can say it, right? And so now you have some very qualified, important, talented candidates that are being excluded from the process, excluded from the uh, but there are people that are not making it further in the process because they're initially screened out. And what we find, just the research shows, is that unfortunately, if the data set being used, and again, I mentioned this a bit, is based on a biased system, then there's going to be biased outcomes. And so I want organizations to reverse course on that. And I want organizations to not jump to implement AI because everyone is using AI. I think that's the biggest piece. Some organizations have no idea what they're doing, but hey, if you're not using AI, you're gonna get left behind, and you need this and you need that. Don't get me wrong, I want you to use AI, but I want you to understand it before you implement it. And so ensure that the people in charge, ensure that the people are making decisions are informed on how they're making a decision, informed on the AI that they're using, instead of assigning that to one person, maybe the CTO, maybe their technology person, and trying to hopefully get on board with that. That's not the proper way to do it. We need to undo that, come back, get people skilled, upskilled on it, then start the implementation. And I promise you, AI is going to be around long enough that you don't have to worry about getting too far behind if you do it right. But I'd rather have you take the time to do it right than do it wrong and then have to undo it and then start all over, which is what we're seeing a lot in the market today.
You're 100% right. And I just did some research last couple of days, and I'll be sending this out to my newsletter as well. It's not, to more people in regards to some things like, I'm seeing myself in the market in regards to, ATS. And, for me, having my own company, it's a little bit hard for me to see the insights to some of these things. So I'm trying to get as much information as I can. But if I'm a recruiter, right, I've been recruiting for a while, and I get a ATS system, it has AI in it. It's going to rank all my candidates for me. So then I'm going to look at the top, like anyone who gets more than the 80%. Cool, I'm going to do that, right? And because the market is so full of this wonderful talent, I'll probably have a good chunk of people who are more than 80%. Am I going to look at that person who's 45% to audit my system to make sure, hey, is that right? Did this get it right? And then what we're also seeing in the market from hiring teams, from employers, is they're complaining right now that, oh, we have too many candidates applying for jobs and we can't get through all the resumes. And for me, it's like, cool, hire back people to read the resumes. Like it kind of just makes, sense. And then you have those human beings actually looking at those systems and those resumes, and they can say, okay, here's a real human, this one's not a real human. Because if you're just relying on the tool, you can miss a ton of, great candidates if you're just relying on the tool. Lynn, please go ahead.
So I would, what I wish organizations would reverse course on is number one, stop measuring whether people are using AI and start measuring whether the work has actually changed. And the typical scenario is companies are selecting a platform, typically Copilot. They roll out a policy. They have IT or the vendor do prompt training, and then they use their dashboards to say to their boards, hey, this many people are using it. This is how many prompts, et cetera, et cetera. And then what are our employees hearing? They're spying on me. So they'll start using their own personal devices and use other platforms that are not governed within the organization. And companies are checking the box saying, we have an AI strategy, which really just means you have people using AI. That's it. And the most common way employees are using it are usually for writing documents, research, and emails, and that's it. And you are spending a tremendous amount of money and time on having your employees write better emails, which is not that the capacity of what AI can do is so much greater. So, and the other piece is to bring the people who are owning the work into the discussions and into the plan and into the process. And I still to this day cannot believe how many companies do not even include AI, I mean, not AI, HR, maybe AI too, on their task force or on their strategy panels because who are the employees going to go to if they're frustrated? Either HR or their frontline supervisors. And if the employees are going to frontline supervisors or AI or sorry, or HR, then their messaging has to be in place. It's the answer shouldn't be, oh, this is just another thing management's doing. So you need to be transparent and get your people as part of the process, not just your IT department.
No, absolutely. And I think that what we have seen is such a siloed approach to, AI, where the companies say like, okay, big guys, you guys want AI, cool, here you go. Everyone else figure it out. Now we're going to lay you guys off and we're going to increase our stock. It doesn't work that way. That's not how HR works. And when you're looking at organizational development, learning development, like those are two really huge parts of HR that's going to make your company successful. Not the tool, not just saying, hey, save 10 hours a week. Is definitely going to be, more than that. Clarence, I think you're next.
Yeah, great points, Lynn, by the way. But I'll give kind of a short answer and a long answer here because I think that context really matters when it comes to this question. The short answer is three things. I would say education, communication, and leadership. And much of this has already been kind of stated by Marco and Lynn. But the long answer is that companies jumped at AI implementation way too quickly at scale. And I get it, it was shiny object syndrome, but they told employees to use it without giving them ample training. And then they laid them off and blamed it on AI. And now we're 3 years in and we have way more data giving us real insight into AI's impact. And now we need to act on that data. It's a perfect time for us to reverse course, but that takes a human skill that people struggle with. And Marco talked about this a little bit earlier, accountability, but also humility to say, like, we messed up and we need to reverse course. And the data that really nails it, and I spent a lot of time in this report, but Gallup found that the single strongest predictor of whether AI adoption actually works is whether an employee's direct manager is championing it. But when we look at manager engagement over the last few years, it has plummeted. And just in the last 12 months alone, from 2024 to 2025, it dropped 5 points to 22%. Only 22% of managers are actively engaged in the work that they're doing. And I always say that we've treated AI the same way that we've treated managers. We promoted it too quickly with no training, and we made it the linchpin of an organization without the support behind it. And of course, AI will never be disengaged, but that disengagement is going to trickle down to the people that are expected to use it and manage it. And what we severely mismanaged when it comes to AI implementation is the investment in the training of the people who would actually be using it. And instead of empowering them with the tool, we made it their enemy. And in a lot of situations, we made it their replacement. There was a recent NBER study or survey that was conducted of nearly 6,000 executives, and they found that about 70% of organizations now use AI, but nearly 90% report no measurable impact on productivity over the last 3 years. But individually, though, at the employee level, those users do report feeling an impact on their own work. But what companies aren't seeing is the misalignment that's brewing quietly underneath all of that. Because when you see thousands of people laid off in the name of AI, you can't help but worry that your job isn't secure either, and that the tool that you're being required to use might eventually replace you. So naturally, you become much more apprehensive to use the tool. And then the misalignment shows up in a bunch of different ways. But if we just pause and we take our time to really educate employees on the benefits of AI, ethical use, how to lead each other and ourselves through it, how to lead the machine, how to not use AI, then it eases this dissonance that we're all experiencing and it empowers people to use it for their own benefit, which will trickle into the organization. And then if we communicate better about what our intentions are as organizational leaders, how we envision the role of AI in the company, and we build a psychologically safe environment that allows for open dialogue about the fears as much as the ideas that come with AI, then all of it becomes a lot easier to align with on how it becomes part of our culture. And then the last thing I'll say is that we have to define what it actually means to lead the machine. And I think that this is the most critical thing that we have to do today, with LLMs being part of everybody's daily work and now AI agents entering the mix. We have to know and define what it means to lead people alongside leading the machine. Because to lead complex teams that involve both humans and machines is a complexity that we have never dealt with at this scale. And as Marco also said earlier, emotional intelligence is going to matter now more than ever because we have to lead ourselves first in order to effectively lead everyone and everything else.
That is amazing. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. So everyone, I want to be very respectful of your time. I know it's 11:24 right now. I will be available for next 30 minutes if you guys like have a Q&A. Like please, 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 like we want to continue to have this conversation. If you had to jump off, I fully understand. I thank you guys, for coming in. While I still have my whole panel here, I'm going to do the most shameless plug ever for everyone on my panel. So I guess you guys can all guess what we all have in common. Each of us owns a company that does AI enablement and strategy. So for the last 5 minutes, let's just have a speed round. Everyone, your 30-second, 1 minute, just kind of who you are and what you do and how you're helping people to enable teams. I would just love to give you guys that. And of course, anyone who wants to stay after, I will be more than happy to stay after and answer any more questions that we have. So let's go with Marco first because your mic is on. So there you go.
Yes, and I have to hop. Hey, everybody. I just put my LinkedIn back in the chat. Connect with me, Marco T. Lindsey. I have a Business Equitable Feedback LLC, and I primarily focus on what we've been talking about. How do we connect the emotional intelligence with the artificial intelligence? And so I would love to connect with folks. And if there are ways, if there's anything we talked about that I said that you want more insights, you want to talk about more, if you have questions, I'm an open book. I love to connect with folks. And if there are ways that I can support you in your AI journey or your any journey, feel free to reach out. I would love to connect. And thank you. Thank you for having me, Ashley. And thank you to my amazing panelists again. You all are so intelligent and so resourceful. I'm really glad I got to learn from you all.
Thanks,
Thank
Marco.
you. Julius, you're the furthest away. Go next.
Okay. Yeah, so for me, if you are into biotech industry, pharmaceutical or advanced manufacturing, and you are implementing AI, I can help you with that. And also, please watch my podcast, 10x AI with Julius Neal podcast. I'm in Spotify, I'm in Apple Podcasts, and in YouTube.
Perfect. Thank you. And Len, go ahead.
I provide a diagnostic for companies to assess where they have gaps or risks in their infrastructure for implementing or course correcting with AI. And my challenge is that I am offering something that people don't know they need yet. And this is the foundation of any successful initiative, AI or any other change management, to have the foundation, to know what you have in place, what you don't have in place. So if your company or you know anyone who needs help, then call me at the Hofstadter Group.
Perfect. And then Clarence, of course, would love to hear what you guys are doing.
Yeah, so I mentioned it at the beginning, but we're building a platform called Empowered, and the idea behind it is that we create a much more empowered, people-centric workforce, starting with alignment. And so what we're doing is we're challenging the entire hiring process to make sure that we are optimizing alignment from the very first touch point with people who are entering our organizations. And we are in beta right now. And so we are having conversations with our job seeker consumer base, and we're also having conversations with hiring leaders. So if you are one or the other, I'd love to speak with you and pick your brain, because we're trying to be very intentional about the biases that are very natural in these tools, and we're intentionally trying to design against it. And so I'd love to learn from your experience and make sure that what we're building here is something that can truly empower the future of work.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you guys so much. Really, really appreciate it. I would love to open the floor for any questions you have for any of us. You can tell all of us are very passionate about, let's make sure people are working. Let's make sure they have the right skills. Let's make sure they're empowered. Let's go ahead and fix what we see has been broken over the last 3 years. We're all great proponents for, for AI. I have told many people here, I can build tools in AI now. I'm not an engineer, but I can go online on my computer, put my head down and say, hey, I want to build something, and boom, I get it built in a couple of days. That's like how powerful AI can be, but you really just make sure that people have like those skills. So any questions from anyone in the chat? Love to hear them.